Okay, for me this evening, thank goodness, this is my last book out of this box. I am not doing great tonight, so I'll be glad to be finished doing these little recordings. But what am I looking at? Well, as I've mentioned in all these other videos, and I think this actually is, yeah, it is going to be the last one in the list. I've picked up several issues or volumes of Letters from the Dark, direct from Chris Powell at his website, lettersfromthedark.com. I got those because currently Drive-Thru doesn't have them in print, and I wanted them in print. I focused primarily on the issues of the volumes that had content that I thought would be useful to me at this time, if I can get a darn game going for a ShadowDark game that I might run soon-ish, I hope. We'll see. I am continuing work on the sandbox that I have been developing for a couple of years, that I have run some folks through, or most specifically my one friend through some adventures in, that is originally sort of inspired by Phandalin from the D&D box set, but it got expanded quite a bit and changed quite a bit, and I ran it through in Dungeon Crawl Classics, and I'm now working on continuing to build it up so that hopefully I can bring people in, maybe run some ShadowDark. Anyway, all of that is to say that I picked up this one, Letters from the Dark, Volume 9. This is, as the rest of them were, designed and written by Chris Powell. This 30-part, I'm saying it again, having a rough time. This third-party supplement for the ShadowDark RPG, it just says for ShadowDark RPG, includes Anhet, a desert setting designed for epic high-level adventures. Pyramid Schemes, a 10th level delve through 3 pyramids. Wow, 10th level. Relics, legendary items that gain their own XP. Curses, supernatural banes and jinxed items to punish PCs. Well, I don't know about that. Traps, GM tips and example traps to keep players on their toes. Monsters, mysterious beasts inspired by Egyptian mythology. I like that. Undead, stats for 12 varieties of ghosts, skeletons, and zombies, plus resources to create your own. Now, I know that one of the big bad evil guys in my sandbox is a ancient undead creature, and that undead will definitely be an ongoing thread and threat in that game. So I thought this would be cool. If it shows up, there's the credits page. We have our cool line art. Let's see, lore and rules. We've got our deities. Now, like the Cursed Scroll, that I think it was Cursed Scroll 3, I think, that was the Norse-inspired one that used the actual Norse gods, which I didn't love. This one uses some actual Egyptian gods, which I don't love, but what have you. It wouldn't be hard to reskin or rename them. A 10th level adventure. I'm really kind of curious what that looks like. Because I don't have a ton of experience with level-based games, because I didn't play D&D as a youngster, and I've never really been that into D&D or level-based games. When I've run Dungeon Crawl Classics to date, I think second level is as high as anybody's managed to get. I'm curious what high-level play is even like. I feel like ShadowDark, like Dungeon Crawl Classics. I feel like ShadowDark particularly, you're not going to have characters be so powerful, as opposed to Dungeon Crawl Classics, where characters can be super powerful at first level. It's just they're always one bad die roll away from exploding. Anyway, just curious. Because when I played Earth Dawn, which is a level-based system, but it's sort of a unique take on it, I don't think I got super high level. I can't remember what their breakdown was. I don't know if they were like a 1 to 20 or a 1 to 10. I really don't remember. I definitely remember that I did go up, because they were called circles, not levels, and there was a whole in-world reason for them. But I definitely remember going up circles. I know I did, but I don't remember if we were like, we played for a couple of years, and I don't know if we reached, seventh or eighth circle, or if we were like 10th or 12th. I really don't remember. It's been so long. Anyway, curses, jinxed items. Here's some stuff on traps. Let's see. We've got some example traps. That's nice. Stats for monsters. Okay, cool. Oh yeah, here we go. Just some critter stats. Those are handy to have, although it's, probably not going to be difficult to make up your own critter stats if you need to. ShadowDark is not a super complicated system. Got a bunch of skeletons. Lich pharaohs. Yeah, that plays into what I'm kicking around. Here's our adventure. Looks like we've got a hex crawl, as often is the case. I do kind of like these like weird pyramids. That's cool. Somebody's having a bad day. Yep. So this looks pretty groovy. Oh. Cool. So this is all I've got for now. Yeah, the next one, Adventures in Archaeology, Rules for Pulpy Modern Adventures. I won't be getting that. It's sort of like with Dungeon Crawl Classics when they started doing a lot of variations, like the Western one and the World War One one that was in the Gong Farmer's Almanac. I don't think this game necessarily is going to translate to a lot of other genres, not necessarily well. And that's not a slight. It's like D&D. When people try to use D&D to run all kinds of other genres, like D20 Modern was like, I think, a horrible mistake. And recently they've released a Lovecraftian thing. I think it might be in connection with Chaosium. I'm not sure. That's on like the DM's Guild, and it's for D&D. And it's like, it makes no sense to me because it's a different genre than what D&D does. And, just the idea of like in D&D, you would have characters that could probably fight and destroy Cthulhu. And that makes no sense. It's like the old jokes, like, oh, what happens if I nuke Cthulhu? Well, yeah, he blows up. And then in 1d30, rounds, he reforms, and now he's radioactive. You don't beat Cthulhu. It's not. That's why I like Call of Cthulhu. Call of Cthulhu is not a game where you think you're going to punch a god out. D&D is what it is, and I think it should be used for what it is. And I think that's true with ShadowDark. Like, I don't want a ShadowDark horror game. I don't want a ShadowDark science fiction game. I wouldn't run Star Trek with ShadowDark, and consequently, or as well, for the same reasons, I don't want to run like a superhero game with Dungeon Crawl Classics. I think it's a fun system for what it is. Hell's a poppin', weird fiction, weird fantasy, sort of sword and sorcery, that kind of the kind of wacky fantasy that existed before D&D turned everything into ultra categorized, super sanitized stuff. As we in the 90s used to say, D&D was like the Disney of role-playing games. And that in so many ways, it was so corporate, it was so clean, it was so and it's fine. It's fine. I'm not trying to crap on it. Just saying, I'm not a fan of doing a lot of other genres with systems like ShadowDark, Dungeon Crawl Classics, D&D. Those systems are good for what they do. D&D is good for killing monsters and taking their stuff with a vaguely miniature combat vibe. ShadowDark, I think, is good for dungeon crawling and fast-paced, dangerous, old-timey fantasy. And Dungeon Crawl Classics, I think, is good for basically the same thing, but with the weirdness factor cranked to 11. But I don't want to play a lot of other styles of game with that. There are games that are made for that, or there are games that certainly fit those genres better. Superheroes, war, horror, certainly cosmic horror, pulp adventure. There are other systems out there that I think fit those genres better. That's me. That's not everybody. Some people find one system and they are comfortable using that system for everything. Heck, basic role playing. If you ask me, what's a system that works for fill in the blank, 99 times out of 100, I'm going to say basic role playing would work perfect for that. There is that 1 out of 100 that it doesn't. And I would argue like D&D would be a prime example. Like I would never run an official Wizards of the Coast D&D campaign. I would probably not run using basic role playing, because by the level 20 in the D&D campaign, you're supposed to be a god, basically. And you could play for 10 years every week, and your basic role-playing character can still get taken out by a random guy with a knife, because you never become a god. You're always a person. Or whatever you are when you start, you're always that. You might be better, you might be more talented and smarter and more capable and have cooler stuff, but you're still that same sack of meat you were when you started, and it's still as dangerous for you on that 1000th day as it was on the first. So different kinds of systems, different games. Anyway, that was a long rant. Sorry, I got sidetracked. That's the last of these for now. At some point, I may go back in, and actually, since this is the last one, I will bring these back out. So I now have Volume 1, Volume 4, Volume 6, Volume 7, Volume 8, and Volume 9 of Letters from the Dark. And I'm probably going to go back in and get 2, 3, and 5. Yeah. I think, am I missing something? I don't know. I can't count. No, I think that's right. I'll probably go and order those at some later date. Not right now. I have some other stuff that I'm looking at next time I have any disposable income. But this will give me some reading for quite some time after I finish reading what I'm working on right now, which is Twisted Tales Omnibus #1, which is another ShadowDark thing. And who knows, maybe by the time these videos post, which will be a while, it's going to probably be a month or two before this last one posts anyway. Maybe by that time I'll have finally gotten the game to the table, but I'm not holding my breath, so you shouldn't either. Until next time, take care.